I would like to remind all of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate bodhicitta motivation or the altruistic aspiration seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of motivation, we should participate in this teaching on Lamrim, or stages of the path leading to enlightenment. To give you the blessing of oral transmission, I would like to read about a page or two from this Lamrim text, volume number 2, in the English translation of the great treatise on the stages of path to enlightenment.
Mara tin jin dorwa ni mara la yung mere na da ge su do khale tin san ni tin ko ye ko do zo de ve tin le she ba ngam ba cho che yung mi ni pe khong ge ni yo cha be shu je sa dong ba sa dong ye wa ma de ve je shang la de ba de da de 现的嘛，这不是那不是有着空空弄的个不年呢些，空给这位生节送钱的郎包你们到东哎，家面的不能着嘛是吧？他先些弄，所以就着些东的他也不对吧？理解。sem je kanda ma ri dong be sam ba gu be lo je pa dang bu ru ju nam je da lo yin gu ru chang be pe da bo de dang ni be ju bu ta wa xia da ge su mi ti le je ju ro gu mi ngi ta re ji le mo no da wa je song so wo no pe ni chi ba ti shi da bu ji sha nyang 마랑게 정거에 된 저를 시선 시터데 되다 탐지제 멀리바 매 멀리 딜다 탐면제 제 멀리바 매 대노다게 무뉴무베 돈지발랑베 엉게베 메니메 마 저보 슝센발라 파살라서 비지시 대와던저 Rangchen jibe dunga jiraba nawallara yang dunga na soba jeba badaba shabi pe daba de na ni tarwa nyangale debe dewa langko shawa yen pene shakwe de oma nying bo lebe she yang ngonje nyumu be dongje laba dage ne ma le jir she deba she dunga ne bo kong du she jawa she de kong da ge 첨단이 제니 첨단이 제 꿀핀 첨단도 닝구르 시바시 될라린데 페다바냥 데리시지소 잡조르라 다제베 콜레 시베 메소 그르 시바다 시바소네 키베가 네소 네소 송디 리지와 나디 지지레 자자다네 자다 사나 나다게 코르메 지 샴바미 시바미소 카이바 데나다 코르진 미간심네 미구진 시바소 담시바 소르시 시바 쉐쉐 미시바 테다 케베라등 시선도나 도르드 나랑게 ge rong ge ma te ba ne de me ne par nyo sing sing me lu long je ba ji ko ba de ne dik sha wa dik sha ye yang ga ji zo wa no la ngo ba so ne ro na ma de jo pe de na ma ti chang pe de na me pe la me re so la ba re pe de yo ma ti ji ba de le be do me ba no so la ba ba Tele go so ti jin du ma chur be sim jin na ja nyu ma be do je se ne de ne ba do be ne de ne ba go ku be ni she ba la rang mo mo do be ni ba no ngo do do nge li je la da be me dang je yong da be xi xie je long ji ne ge yi re ji ni ji ji yin je be ne dik sha je ko da yo che ba de bin zo yang go zhen ba tong ma di pe de re pe de re go la pe yo la yang ma di dong ba ta dong ba ta ba nge te de sha sam ni calling ever don't be tea so good love to the mu ji nyo de mung dong yang so mong bu lom de ne ko ba de sha da da xian da yang yang en de yang xie do nam ne dung e cong xie de da de xian le jiao a xian le la zhong zhe me de xie yong de na zhe dong no wo zhe song xie song me ju de yang ཉམ ཐབ ཚུ ཇ དུ རོ ཡིན ནོ ད ང ད ཤུ ཡ དེ གེ དེ གར སམ མ་ཤི ཐེ ད ཐེ སུ དེ ལེ བར བ ད ཐེ སུ ཡ དེ གར སོ ད དེ ནི མ ཡིན ས ར བ གར ས དེ ད ཅི ཤི ཕེ ངོ མ ཤ མ ད པ ད མ ཐེ ཅི དུ ངེ ཅི ཅ མེ བ དེ ནམ ཅི ཅི མེ དུ ཐོ ནི ར ཉི ཁོ ལ ཅི ད ཤིན ད དེ ཐེ ཤུ མ མེ དེ lama le zhiwa le nye tu kuwa jia zi kong si xue jirwa long ge nang du long wa tabi nang xin jie xi pewe ngoma xie pe te por ni ke di jik da xin zi le Tubor me, Ches, Tena Ditabu, Tinjin Dora, Mara Nana, Mirina, Dagi, Sudan, Suda Kala Tunyam, Sinjin, the Tin in Congo, Kursong, Tingi, Shivanga. But the Jamin Bay, only usual champion Sadum. Never Monday, some lot about the Dandration, the Marashi, the Bon, see you do Konguna, the Capine, Nishi, Kongi, Tiverson, Switch, the Langba, you muted, Dungi Jamin, the Bonnie. Dua mara ta xie na sui xu zhuo xie dang. Ta di kha di de xia da. Kar sa di ma ru da ini xin so dang de de da. En ji ji hu ngo ma xie re ma de xie en sim ji da ji ga pa ma xie ba pa ma xie ne en ti ji ma jang ji yo ma ri. Xie da da so so be de lang do ne ga xian be ne ga le de zang. En ti so so be ya tarwado tawdo shibodo in master ya tsani in mingdu madina tisu tabdu mashi tisu be dungen dia tabdu masuna in mite heda be kaza ta shebaris shibodo lobjung le da si nyedu ko ya do da khodi nyedu to da phama di yo ko ya longa longa da longsen ti bida re da chogo do di khodi si thonga me chukor ja pa ten do ya jo di se thong kha ya su ro wa 어디 로다 이쁘고 뭐만 뭐도 그때 찍다선 수수지고 야타야 요시에 있나 이제 딜 티퍼 왔다 가서는 지도 미게서 힘이 있어야 들어와 힘이 있어 뒤에다 다 진짜 힘이 시죠 말이 가서 다다 알랑도 그 내가 현실 라운딩도 장스는 게 너도 시고였어 이제 말합 것이야 딜 사드 시고 버왔어 저디지고다 이제 뒤야 뒤수 거라 코 랭고래 신사야 사무동 그래서 그러와 소모도가 시원이 받자에 지어서 다 드네 마디를 거기 아메 비게 이는 당부 마이에 샤니 이는 드네 비게 매 니에디 로모 가서 다와 뭐 걸리 드네 마티니 이는 누쇼티 샤베 짱 통수 이는 될야 이는 깔리 뭐 보자니 보이 돈달라 이는 비게 사기 통주가 야스 롱선에 비 소소베 딕바다 데델 만즈비 신데 장네 데네 티기 장샤브레스 Sedata today so that that tell big madi boy na in the bon switch to do citizen that today ya big madi in roya de ta lot de ba ina be zan chi ma sa ma re jo ko ko nan di kap ni ne ni xi xing ko ge ji we sen ji sui jin de lang ba ni mu de da du ni jian men de po ni do ma ra ta yi sui tos tadi tanthona jigbaredo ko khona sedi ame khona sugurada dagu niedi nyara therawa dikap ni ne sedeni tama sani ne xie ko ge se yi sunjin de lang ba ta sisim ge ne punge je ba ne ga khida khon do sarwa je pul ne to ne pige so sage do ge sen ni je da me ya che ni yema ko le pige karsa 소소 내가 좀 갔어요. 베텔이야 수보스 풀도야 가지 상도 거랑 배 맞으신데 신대까지 있잖아요. 그래서 그래서 니무테다 등이 깨미 데포네스 니무테다 선다 디 니무사 등도 지당 니무티 페이지 인지 말 등에 인사래. 그래서는 단다 등에라 니무 자주가 여러와. 대여다 니무스도 니무 봐서야 돼 등에 Human data was removed was a Javare. She said, doing it, you move Jibisoda, and the human data was a Sagura. She said, Yonta was the body and draw Marab any Tashi, she now sweet toasted that. Because Lord and Dengi is some you get there as a chan. Any big Tashi or the Gina, and the Tinga some of the Maris.
Geshe read a couple of pages starting from the bottom of page 39, volume number 2 in the English translation of Lamrim Chenmo. And the caption reads, cultivating the, I think it's chapter 1, yeah. cultivating the wish to repay your mother's kindness. That's at the bottom of page 39 and all the way to top of page 42 to give us the blessing of oral transmission of Lamrim lineage teaching. As you may recall, that we have already discussed a couple of things based upon what we called way or the instruction called 6 causes and 1 result instruction for developing bodhicitta or the spirit of enlightenment in our mind. And it starts off with recognizing all sentient beings as having been once mothers or parents, right? In other words, we have talked about mother-child relationship among sentient beings over many lifetimes. And then on the basis of that, we have also talked about tremendous kindness of mother sentient beings. Okay? And now the third cause or the point is repaying their kindness, or we need to feel their kindnesses, and we really need to feel the need to repay the kindness of mother sentient beings. So this is the point where we are picking it up today. And so the explanation given here is this, that all sentient beings have become our kind mothers. It's just that we don't recognize each other because of our rebirths in samsara. We have changed our lives, many times in samsara because of being reborn in samsara, that we just don't recognize each other. Otherwise, we have all become kind mother of each other. Yeah. And so as really loving mother, what the way we try to recall her kindness is, of course, first, mom carries a child in her, inside her for over 9 months. And during that time also, she makes a lot of sacrifices. She has to be very careful with what she eats and how she behaves. And she even sacrifices eating some of the food she really probably loves to eat, because that is not good for the child inside, right, her body. Or that she might even stop working or doing other things she needed to do because she feels that this might hurt the child inside. So mom, has to, remain very kind of disciplined and very careful about her way of life as, she carries a child inside her. Yeah. And then, she delivers us into the world. And of course, she nurtures us with all her love, right? As we talked about this before, if in the beginning, if mom decided to ignore us, we were just completely helpless, being, that we could have died in a couple of hours. But mom really, carried us in her arms, and so given us, all her love, and breastfeed us, and has taken care of us in many other ways that we already talked about. And then as we come of age, then mom actually takes more responsibilities to educate us and to provide us, sustenance, and to support our fulfilling the dreams. So mom, is tremendously kind to us in many ways. And so as we think about all these kindnesses that mom has rendered us, it is very unbecoming on our part not to feel the kindness and think of repaying her kindness. Okay, that would be very shameful on our part. The Tibetan word is telmeba, right? A completely shameless person if you do that. So the way it is contextualized here is that if we only seek our own freedom from samsara or single existence, just pursue one's own personal nirvana from samsara, and we just kind of forget all kind mother sentient beings, that's like ignoring all of them and their well-being, and that would be very unbecoming. And we have to feel the sense of responsibility that we are their children, and because of mother-children relationship, we have certain responsibility towards the well-being of our mothers. And so we have, what are called quotes from Shantideva's compendium of trainings or Shiksha Samukshaya. Let me see. No, first is the Chandra Gomin's letter to a student, and where it really talks about how, metaphorically speaking, our kind mother sentient beings are kind of, in this ocean of samsara, and so they have a lot of, suffering, and we just can't close our eyes and ignore their situation. We have to do, what we can to, help them get out of that predicament. And if we don't do that, it would be very shameless on our part, very unbecoming on our part, if we just ignore them. So as Geshe explains here, that in thinking in many different ways, that we really have to, feel the sense of responsibility upon our shoulders, that this is the time for us. Mom has done so much for us, sacrificed so much for us, nurtured us, taken care of. Now this is the time for us to be able to do something for her, repay her kindness.
다 연대 타입을 집어들라 심지에 가다 머리 로지 다디 찍과지게 뭐게 머리 로지 가서 동베 머리 베 이니 롱도 미동베 이니 롱도 미동에 이니 베 가서 동베 삼바 그바 세대잖아 다데 말에 삼바 롱도 마게 되게 통데 인자 삼바 그바 로조제 삼바 그바 되게 이니 등에 자절 마송 대셔버스 다 뒤에 간가 있는 소소 파다 벌켜 가지고 니 맛이 베자는 요 말이스 니 시바 가서 있는 팬베게 그래서 섬님에 팬다는 따요레스 어다 드다 마제면 드다 땅내는 런지부터 봐시는 바티 있는 다그 수면스되잖아 다 소소 베 레스 저도 말이스 저와 당기도 찍바도 저와 제가 뒤에서 내가 뒤에 땅교 뭐 동시에다 뒤 도달이야 있는 그 삼론도 땅 그래스 그래서는 저 로중 거명에 떨기리 몰음다 어제다 되게 야 동행 동야 돈달라 인도아데비데 타타베야 돈달이야 엔 그래서 탈기리 그래서 예떨기리 몰음다 시드던 몰음서는 다 비지 디바레 택지 심기도보다 거기 뒤에야 선제산을 타르는 거야 이게 성로동 거래 에세야 지리도
So we're on page 40. And so as we look at our own situations, relatively speaking, that, we are very fortunate indeed, to be able to have intelligence to understand, what needs to be abandoned, what we must not do, and what we should do or what we should adopt. In the Tibetan word, it's called lang thor. Lang means to cultivate, to adopt, right? And the things we must cultivate in our mind and do, and thor means to get rid of, to abandon the things we should not do and we should get rid of. And so we have this, wonderful situation right now that we can understand what's right, wrong, right? What we should do, what should not do, and we also have an ability to be able to do something about that. So taking all this into account, so then we should really feel that, okay, I must do something to repay the kindness of my mother sentient beings. And so we have more scriptural quotation to substantiate this point. In the middle of page 40, you can see a quote from Praise of Infinite Qualities, where it is depicted that mother sentient beings are as if they are blinded by their ignorance, avidya, marikpa, and really they don't know how to get out of their situation. They are caught up in the ocean of samsara, and they're blinded by the ignorance, and they really don't know how to get out. Whereas, we have certain sense right now to be able to understand what must be done, what can be done, and what should not be done. And so as Geshe explained, that not only that we could think all of them as being mother, but we can also think of them as maybe kind fathers, if that's what works with us, or maybe kind brother or a sister or a relative or the best friend, whatever image is working, I just think in terms of that sentient beings have been that person for us, dear to us, and done so much. And so we must, where it says, thinking this, I made aspirational prayers to liberate these protectorless beings, meaning that maybe we should generate a bodhicitta heart or the mind, isn't it? Sentient beings have been so kind to me. They have made so much sacrifices. And so in order to repay their kindness, I'm going to generate this spirit of enlightenment or bodhicitta, which is basically, seeking enlightenment for their sake, for their benefits. So that would be a part of our thought processes, preparing and also repaying the kindness of mother, father, brother, sister, best friend, sentient beings.
다 편리해야 될 가르쳐거든요. 편리해야 될 아이들 신경은 다 간제스 팬다고 유자라 노롱지도 팬거로 팬다 팬 가르쳤다고 그랬나? 인데서도 저시는 말한 게 거와 대회 저 자기 가르사 시점 시 토데 대다다지 이 발루 메시저도 그게 다 심지 탐지야 노롱지 팬다 토고 말아 봐디 신나 배 딱바 타도 딱바 온데 신나 팬 토고 말했어 말한 게 뭐 에콜로지에 기보도 자신라서 버티신 배 거에 대조로 푸승서 마음보 롱제니 용어레스 이는 다다 라바 동바 동정접시니 지가다기 말 루여로 마스 또 더더 되지 거에 사직이 배 롱지여접시 배 팬다 봐 이노 다디 배 둥에 계약 nombe로 시작돼서 그러와 다기마 둥에 디가 다다야 노롱지여 그 제베나 노롱지 가제 때는 될 박배 되자셔다 다 니무지한 거라 그래서 둥에 nombe 시작됐다 다다 마 니마때야 메베가 다다 영소지 시에서는 양조배 만접지 당보세니 야 차음에 가데 유지도 차도 따디 양조 사그러 어떻게 이 차야지 뭐 이제 이는 노롱지 팬토 말이에요 다 가르쳐 걸서는 인데시 걸서도 봐 샤바해도 된다 타바 양행 되월 가서 거버 샤오 냥디 세 펜에 샤고 됐어 어디다 세다다 네 펜마다 펜에 시에도 시거든 노롱지 사지 노롱지 펜마다 가르쳐 걸서나 근데 타바 양행 되와 다디 양행 되와 나를 베기 미네벤 양에서 상시고 공부도 쓰기로 다 내가 된이라는 거데 고쇼고라디 팀고 그래서 야지미다
So if sentient beings have such a, how should I say, intimate and deep connection with us, in the form of a mother or a father or a brother or sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, best friend, whatever, he didn't say boyfriend, girlfriend, but I might added it, but whoever's the best person loving for us, and then, we felt the sense of responsibility to repay the kindness. So then we can say, how best can we repay their kindness, right? If we have to do that, right, we want to do it in the best possible way, right? That's the assumption, right? Understanding. And so we can think in terms of okay, how about maybe providing material, help to them, fulfilling their material needs. Okay. Well, number one, sentient beings are just innumerable, and it's just impossible to do that, to fulfill their material needs. Hypothetically speaking, okay, even if that's possible, let's make it possible. What is impossible, make it possible. Even if we are possibly we can provide them material prosperity and all of those things, that may not be a good way to repay their kindness. As a matter of fact, that may be adding, more problem to their situation. In the Buddhist context, as we acknowledge that these sentient beings have, become universal monarch or Chakravartin Raja, right, who had all the material things, right? It's not like they never had it. Well, they had it, and now they're empty-handed. They lost it, right? We all have done that, right? And they have been maybe the Indra, the king of the gods, right? And now what happened to them? They're still here, stuck. So even if we are successful in providing them material help, well, it will be very transient and temporary. And plus, we all know that material things also trigger all kinds of afflictive emotions in our mind, right? That attachment arises in the jealousy, and then all the craziness, will come up, right? So if we provide a lot of those things to them, the mom will go crazy with all this, like banana with all the delusions. Now, like, oh my gosh, now I have to invest, I don't know, with all of those things. So it's going to add more suffering to them. And the example used here is if somebody has already got a wound, if we rough salt on it, boy, that's going to mess up big time, right? Instead of helping them, we are going to give them more pain. So therefore, really the best way to repair the kindness of mother sentient beings, or the kind sentient beings, let's put it that way, is really to generate this heart and mind of bodhicitta, truly wishing to be an enlightened being to help them in the best possible way, right? So seeking enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings, pursuing that dream or the goal is the best way to fulfill the kindness of sentient beings. The term nirvana is used here, but it's to be understood as non-abiding nirvana, which is a very fancy term, maybe not so fancy in English because it sounds like what? But in Tibetan it's called minebe nyangde. The kind of nirvana that doesn't abide on the extreme of solitary peace of samsara, or the or the extreme of the solitary peace of nirvana, or the extreme of samsara, right? It's free of all those two extremes. So that kind of nirvana refers to Buddhahood as enlightenment. Okay, so seeking that, right, keeping an eye on that, like, okay, this is what I got to do for mother sentient beings. So that's the best way.
도일레바 다기니스 저 현무지 뉴모베스 뉴모베 안게 아니 비게 돈이 뉴모베 안게 돈이베 라베 에네 심제베 등에 자존로가 대다라 세르와 에네 다게 시도 소수 에네 두절이야 에네 코에 비게 사시기 상승기도 노르룽지 패다바이나 에네 텔야 말지다브나 시기 영조 등에 퇴바자 마도 요마레스 봐 말 유진 대바시 등에 내바 강둑 시세도 등에 갈 등에 소르스거라 다네 가르치 자신도 애네 강다게세도 애네 심지어 강다게 자신은 소도 참도 닝지베 꼬르니 펜타바티 펜레도 가르치고 그랬어 다네 가르치고 그랬어 근데 냥에 대바지 텔비게 냥에 대살은 거 같아 뭐도 펜바시야 요 말레스 다티 인지면지 시고리세 한다 자도르라 당지 가서 자도르라 제비 콜리 참베 가서 자도르라 당제비 콜리 참베 가서 소 콜시와다 샤바소와니 케베가비 니에서 송데 알디카가디다 다디 데시아 리제방아데 다리 자도르라도 사드다 콜메지 쉐바서 거인바 데네다 코진이 미거센 미거지 참바서 당 시바철 니 시바 추미스야바바 텔라 케베 랍드가 해서 어디에다 건도 디체다 냥엔데베야 심제 냥엔데베야 이네베 콜네야 데 이네 콜 체셔디레스 야도르저 코바데 딱 타바서 코야데요 마데 신나 코 지고서 마레스고 라 코 자드라 코레나다 케바데 지고는 코 디토드 코 양도 그러와 다 심제 비가 상이상 거야데 심제 타미에다 데 거디는 빠베아세요 버려 어디 제가 디레야 콜자 예수가 다 티시베네 케베가 바레스 이거 로치가 세네 베 케베 메야제 심제 콜랑와이나 케베가 보고서 저와레스 되죠.
So at the bottom of page 40, over to page 41, we have a stanza quoted from Baba Viveka's Heart of the Middle Way, in Tibetan called Uma Nyingpo. And it reads, "Furthermore, like applying salt to the wounds of those who have been possessed by the madness of their afflictions, I created suffering for those sick with suffering. Now, what else is there other than nirvana to repay the help of those who in other lives helped me with love and service?" Unquote. So here again, Baba Viveka is kind of restating the same thing, that if we think of repaying the kindness of mother sentient beings in terms of material gifts and possessions, right? And these material gifts can only bring, as we know, what is called, for lack of a better word in English, called contaminated pleasures of happiness, sakjejiteva, right? And so that always is kind of, how should I say, mixed with afflictive emotional experiences. So this is like rubbing salt again on the wounds. It's really not helpful. Yeah? And so the best way is to seek nirvana in this context, means enlightenment, for the sake of other sentient beings. And so taking that sense of responsibility is a huge deal. It's not an easy task, And so the example is given here is, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if we can just kind of carry the Mount Meru, the king of mountain, on our back, right, which is just impossible, that burden would be less than really taking the responsibility upon our shoulders to repay the kindness of other sentient beings. Because this responsibility is greater than Mount Meru. Well, Mount Meru, let's say, even if we carry it, at some point we have to put it down, right? We are not going to carry it forever. But this sense of responsibility to repay the kindness of other sentient beings, it really goes for a long time. And we just can't drop in the middle of the thing like, okay, now I'm tired, Mom, get off my back. No, we just have to carry it until we reach our destination. So this is, a much bigger deal than carrying Mount Meru on our back. Or let's say we can somehow, collect all the water in the ocean in a something container and carry it on our back. But that is still going to be somewhere we can put it down, right? But not the responsibility to repay the kindness of a mother sentient being. So those who really sincerely feel the responsibility to repay the kind of mother sentient being, they have this great responsibility on their shoulders. And the learned ones, right, they really admire them. They're like, wow, you are the cool guys here, isn't it? And those who are just kind of a very selfish, self-centered egomaniac, well, he didn't say that, but make it more, just only seeking just one's own kind of selfish gain. Really, the learned ones are not at all impressed by that. Like anybody can, fulfill their own schlaps about things, loans.
디네만 도르드는 스다디 도디르데 다기게 동디르바 도드는 마디 간제 마디베게 심조 마제비 뇨니 가르사 에니 메롱아셰 롱지 메베셰 에니 영사도 지르바 사르로 시기나 에니 부데게 티토네 마디게 베게 레사도 부데라 레고리 부데 마도네 에니 티게 수동 현다 수동 어 됐다고 다 콘도 체크레시고서와 네 그래서 뭐버쳐는 도나 마디 부데라 솔레 부데라야 마디 지바텔 드 메바 솔바베 텔레 드고 티힌디 어 다디 빼시르바 다 디기는 심제단지 랑 마지 심제단지 베게 랑도르기 맥덤 랑도 도자마지 맥롱데 마 맥롱데 나 신시르바 그 예송의 양사를 베게 삭도시니 에네 셰 강바르 딕샤스는 같이 차르초레 리조르세도 말해 셰드 리조르세도 다 부디야데 베게 소소 니바도 위야셰 엔 소소 베게고 도시셰 맥마라나 엔 게다 두자셔라다 어 티르시고 다 티무다 저 티신도 마르초베 심제남제 뉴모미 도지 심네디 네바 블레 국베니 히라 히바랑 뭐도 바뇨스 온도데 이리기 람타에 맥단테 양다베 셰라기 롱디 메사 롱디 셰라디네 셰라드 랑도제네 고 야두고와 메자 니 케지레 니지기 에제 딕샤세르바 케지레레야 에니 뉴모즈 꾸인란데 딕바르베 베 케지레레 사니 इन पे क्या देख कर शिया दे जीवा रे सकता मा संग्रह शिगोरवा अच्छा तो तीजे किरकोवा दे छबा दे इंदु याका एन जिम बतोना माती बदल रेग फले या तीन दोंबा से बेबे तेदर सामने से खोलिंग ये बर दोंबे तीन शागो दे लबदुले निमुजे न्यू तेमु दों 양사 몽부 람주수 컴버레디 딕샤와 다다 셴다 냥엔 시 로아남니 동엔 송 셰데다 데네 셴라 쭝쭝와 미르키 요덴나라 토노 ngosawa 송시 숭모인데양 냠다 부수이 자도르무 다 디데 냠다 시 요서나 인데다 pe put madel megru madena nodin jigde me kheda jana adi thaga job puj do ko madi yangsa chongdo shi do ko ta do jiwas de ga do si duja chagro se ta ko der do tang thoda ta ngi dige ro ta ko der do tang dor din si do today said.
So on page 41 over to page 42, is kind of summarizing what has already been talked about, in an effort to simplify the meaning that has, that's been conveyed here. And so here, an example given to convey the real meaning of the message is, let's think of a child and a mom. It's a grown-up child, okay, not a baby. And the mom is completely gone blind, and mom is also gone crazy, okay? And so mom doesn't know what she's doing. She just is wild and crazy and running everywhere. That's what she does. And you see the mom kind of standing over the edge of precipice, right? And so nobody else is there who could save her. Okay. Now in this situation, who is the person that mom can really put her trust for help, save her? Obviously, it is her own child, isn't it? And who has the really ability to save her and the responsibility to save her life? It is the child, right? There's nobody else around. So even seeing this, if the child somehow ignores it or neglects the mom's case and let her fall off the precipice, and that would be so tragic and unbecoming, isn't it? And should anybody, third person, sees these witnesses, what is he or she going to say? Report to the whole community, right? Oh my gosh, let me tell you what this son or the child has done, isn't it? And so that example is given to illustrate the point that all sentient beings are that mother, right, to us, isn't it? And they are blinded by the ignorance. Okay? Their eyes are fine, but the mental eye is blinded by ignorance, and they have gone crazy with afflictive emotions. Okay? And so because of this situation, our mother sentient beings really need our help, and we are the child here, isn't it? Who has at least the ability to differentiate between what's right, wrong, what should be done, what should not be done, and we are in that situation. So therefore, it is our responsibility to do, what we can to help mother sentient beings. So here is nobody else is here who can guide the mothers out of this predicament. Nobody else is here who can help them. It's just us and our mothers, isn't it? So therefore, mother sentient beings is justified to put their trust on us because we are their child. And we are in a position, at least here, to be able to do something for our mothers, and we should shoulder that responsibility. And that is a justifiable thing to do. And if we fail in our responsibility, that's shameful, that's unbecoming, and that is something that people will not appreciate in the community if they know about that. So let me see. Yeah, I didn't miss anything. No, it's okay.
Nas. That the long the day is that Jidang didn't love you long the Jidal Simjil Nizashum, Simjil Yondeta was a long is a
No, so.
ready na there Simjil Yam Tabal Jan degrees.
No, so.
The Redwa.
No.
This that you but that was Janga Shambal Jambata, Ninjas Java, Tambu Shambatala, that Jandara Garsano. Some less that Shambati Ninjas Lazun something Jirwa.
No, so.
Shambakomal Shabim Mikwane, the other Mindimus Simjins. Nobody the other changing. Ten Jim Yamata, the other chair George Yamata, the other chair by Chaos, that is hidden some dogs or moon they were hidden Shabbat with Dimba. But Shamba Gumdade Yamba was that t-shirt. Ali Shamba Gumda did a race takes on him.
So at the end of page 41 over to page 42, we have a quote from Shantideva's Compendium of Trainings or Shiksha Samuchaya, Labdhu in Tibetan. And so which also tells us about the predicament that mother sentient beings are in. So they're blinded by ignorance, and they're almost as if falling off the precipice. And so we have the responsibility to save their lives. But this also is cited, for us to be able to appreciate the goodness in others. Don't try to find fault in others. Okay, if we look in that direction, we always find fault, right? So, instead of trying to find faults in others, we should really learn to appreciate even one goodness, right, that somebody else has, right? and appreciate sentient beings. So on page 42, now the next point is the development of the attitude of being intent on others' welfare. So remember, this is just my footnote. Right? We said that bodhicitta is characterized by two types of aspiration. Aspiration seeking one's own enlightenment and aspiration fulfilling others' well-being. Right? This is cultivating the aspiration fulfilling others' well-being. And how do we do that? We do that by way of cultivating love, maitri, chamba, by way of cultivating compassion, karuna, nyingje, and by way of cultivating laksam, the wholehearted resolve, or the special willpower, I would love to say that, right? And that, right? So by cultivating these attitudes, we are able to bring about the well-being of sentient beings. So let's start with cultivating love, right? So what does love mean, and how do we cultivate it?
데레다 샤바니제 가가금 체바르부터 가서 대화 잠바금 대화 내버 저지 내는지 모르세요와 에디 가서 내버 나오죠 대다 내버 시기랍도 가라 라말레 시기랍서야도 좀 세미레레 히네 샤그라 어디샤다 곰다도 곰다 테레스 알티지 소요.
So how do we cultivate love? Love is, wishing others to be happy, wishing goodness, right, for others. And so others are the focus of our love, right? And it's what called subjective experience is we truly wish them to be happy, right, to have the goodness, if you will. And so one of the ways to cultivate that is often in a kind of a standardized chanting and prayer form, right? We say, there are 4 statements which help us to be able to cultivate love, right? First one is, how nice it would be if sentient beings have happiness, right? Simbarong, that's one way, right? May sentient beings find happiness too, right? And may I be able to bring happiness to sentient beings, now the sense of responsibility, connection to that, right? And bless me, O gurus and the Buddhas, to be able to succeed in this aspiration. So by reciting these kind of statements, right, we're able to cultivate love for sentient beings. First, we generated the actual love, right? We said, how nice it would be if sentient beings have happiness or are happy, right? And may they find happiness. Right? May I be able to do something for their happiness, right? And may I succeed by the blessings of the gurus and the Buddhas and all of the above. Okay, so this is how we cultivate love for sentient beings, and then we can apply this for the other attitudes as well.
어데다 참배 표현되라 땡긴디 제볼이 chewa chakdi tikbi hingdan sheba nama pami chinyi ba jejo nana di da che de chambe semji dangzi charmi uchi ngobo shindi Geshe yuta debi hing duda di sheba sonum che mama songba dangs jambe ji hingu le jang changshe ji sani sanji anju shimbu jibu jidin yi kam tongi jinshi ba tena gilung gogbal shibi dewa hindi simje namja dewa dan tenu ter lo chewa jadon tu changju chebe ne hingdir na tana sengu dobe yuzamdu simje na chambe simje na ngamali sonam che mangdu kena yinsen du neval taj go she sheba tangs tinza da khanje chewa chakdi karsa chewa chakdi tibi hingda na se sanje ge hingbe chewa chakdi se hingta ye bari jirwa
No.
tel chewa ye zaga de ne ring ro chewa na mo mong bu sha na mo mong bu xinyi bu yu de le ji jo se da sanje le ko ye jirwa
No, so.
de karsa bu tar to be hing la ti da chewa le song de se ji in sanje su pu ba song ba karsa chamba gumya di karsa sheba we sonu shewa songbada so chamba ji gumno chabe sonumde one karsa chewa chodi hing sangye hing pa me wala sheba be na ba me thang de ba shen o dis pu sangye le pu wa de le chamba gumba de pyon she yo resta de jik de ro ta jambi hingo so ya de Gyeltsen sangi onju shebu jebu jidi kam karsa jebu jidi kam tongi jeba shejawa tena yulung gopal hebe dewa shendi simje namja dewa de denu til lo chewa jadon tu sangbar chebe ni hingde sengu do be yuzam timja ta karsa jabe hingu soya di jidi kam ta karsa Gyeltsen di Geshe di dela yulung gopal hebe dewa ta dewa pad me yarawa
No.
o de da te da simje de dewa de dena nyamba de goma yena ene di hingde le lo chewa jadon de ene sangbar chebe le ene tada di zabuling hingde la ni chaba sengu do be yungse derwa sengu do be yus gomna o tebe sha song sha so
Sing dele yang gopal nyambar shu table listen go again.
mare hing nyamba sha di sta dis so di onju shebu jibu jide kamsa di hing derwa
Alala.
ta di gulong ma jwa tel sha ba de wa di ya gre se la rwa ta di hingum tel shang sha onju shebu ka jide kam tong ye ba she je hing de la en lo ja dong de en sang jue she ba le se
Ale 상주 no.
sang ba je wa
No.
sang jue she ba le hing de shang ba sen go je gom na
No so.
a di yi pen sha re sang jue she wa da ga zo do ba song se ge ba
갑자기 상주에 되긴 더 걸수로 내려봐. 쏟아도 먹고 이러게.
so da dong ba je da
다
so
넘어지
da
나오지.
je
So in the middle of page 42, as we are talking about cultivating love, there's a tremendous benefits, to cultivate love or maitri, chamba. And so we have a stanza quoted from Samadhi Raja Sutra or the King of Concentration Sutra, Tingzin Kyabudo in Tibetan. And the sutra states, always offering to superior beings as many countless offerings as there are in billions of land does not equal a portion of the benefit of a loving attitude, unquote. So what this means is that even if we were to kind of fill completely billion world systems with all kinds of offerings, not just one kind, right? We like variety. So every imaginable offering of variety is filled, right, provided. And we offer them to countless superior beings, mean Buddhas, right? Buddhas are the highest objects to make offering to. Yes, we are going to earn a lot of merit, punya, right? But compared to that merit, if we truly cultivate love for sentient beings, this is actually going to be much more meritorious action or practice than delighting the Buddhas with all the goodies, filled in the billion world system. Okay? And so that's the power of love. Love is tremendously a meritorious and beneficial thing. And then again, to substantiate the point, we have a passage quoted from text called Array of Qualities in Manjushri's Buddha field. And so the description given here is that in the northeastern direction there is a particular Buddha land, right, by the name of Buddheshwara. And so you can find a monastic who is completely absorbed in the peace of bliss of cessation, right? That's a tremendous bliss. Yeah. So maybe there are other monks who are in this Buddha land. They're observing their vows, very intact, and that's very meritorious action, right? For a long, long time. But compared to that, if we cultivate love for sentient beings, being in this Jambudvipa, right, in this Jambudvipa world, that cultivating love is much more meritorious than observing all this celibacy and vows in the Buddha land for a long time. Okay? So therefore, cultivating love is a very powerful, spiritual practice.
Jesus sumje kaze de nire de jima chabaji ji go sonu de charme ter da zuzo se adi kaje dire sa kala be nyung shene ni be zao karsa hiboso ya ge kala je mengre do
so.
ta dire sumja ge dene be simji ne da ta hing de pisa de kai sum de nire ki de jima tang wale 이 샴바 유즘지 공바스 인디 솔무체 인시 원 세도가
No, so.
유즘지 세는 다 딩산 도시도 전 비지 티레다
No, so.
유즘 숨줄라 샤지 샤고라 디제디 유즘지라 가제 레고르세나 다카마 가로지 레고
No, so.
지정하지 고지라
No, so. And then, of course, we have stanzas quoted from Precious Garland by Nagarjuna to highlight the power and the merit we generate from cultivating love. On top of page 43, the first stanza reads, "To offer 300 small pots of food, even 3 times a day, does not equal a portion of the merit of a fraction of an instant of love." Okay? So as Geshe was trying to explain it, because in English we say, what is the 300 small pots of food? Well, that probably doesn't mean anything, right? But actually it's the name of a special dish, right? It's the quality, not the quantity. I mean, you prepare this special food, which is just so delicate. It's one of its kind, right? But you prepare that in a very detailed and sort of in a small pot, right? It has to be cooked. And you offer 300 of those things 3 times a day to the poor and the needy one. Of course, you are very generous and you are very kind and you earn a lot of merit. But compared to that merit even, if we cultivate love even for a moment or a fraction, right? Now, fraction can be defined in many different ways. So these are things by Buddhist logic. If we translate in modern times, maybe about 15 minutes of love, that's going to be much more meritorious than making that special dish, multiply by 300 times, offer 3 times a day to a lot of the poor and needy. Okay. Yes.
어디다 그래서 라미 참아 좋아라 대다장 수마다 예다도 데마다 도도 예네메다 매바매바 돈도장 세티버 데이자 간지다 참바금데나 에네 매다 라 수이나 어디 비게 소소 참모지그레스 근데 라도 소소 송조시그레스 에네 소소 뒤다도 에네 베셈 데와데 베게 셈 둥에데 메고 샤베셈 둥에 메고 샤그레스 또 토도 총은 내봐도 고도레스 인 소소 베 통저가도 난가 샤와도 그래는 베소셔 먹고 누그레스 다디 첸디리 바 샤먹으면 연대니 살아 세심하지는 상변지된다 에네 틀리도 게그레스 근데 가서 틀리 게다 네 가서 참주 연대 예 토부 해송대사 다 샤먹으면 세지만 라게다 간제 그게 상변지되게 되는 연대 예송야 여서로 저 심할선들이 도리 세들라 되게 도리 세자
So on top of page 43, we continue with quotes from Precious Garland, and the next 2 stanzas read, "Even if you are not liberated through love, you will attain its 8 great qualities. Deities and humans will love you. They will also protect you. You will always have joy and much physical pleasure. Poison and weapons will not harm you. You will attain your aims effortlessly and be reborn in the world of Brahma," unquote. Okay? So we're talking about some of the benefits that we could experience in this life and in future lives if we cultivate love truly. So in this life, that's that if we cultivate love for sentient beings, others will really like us, right? I mean, generally people like those who care about them. Yeah? And then not only that, but the divine beings, like the devas and the deities, they are going to master their virtue to protect you, because you are doing good thing right here. So everybody's on your side now. Okay? So then in future lives, we may be able to achieve fortunate human rebirth again. Or we might be able to experience some of the 8 qualities of cultivating love, which include being reborn in the world of Brahma. So where there's a lot of goodies and things, pleasure. So are the benefits of cultivating love.
다다디 칭지에서 샴바 유에다 삼민창신 강이 되어도 예외장 되는 샴베도 이파면 제비 수요초든 저 소소사 다들의 간제 샴바드 곰디에나 에닉게 소즈비 자고도다 엉 뒤모고 엔 라미카레는 엉게 ngangshuk be dyong ya ta di so na so be kasa 대군 좀 계산 소소 비게야 로메 참수한 저 같이 현동 영안 야시한 저거와 어디에서 아니 상지 좀 되는게 아니 상지 되게 샴베봉 잡으러 맞아 질 마전 봉요
And so then in the commentary on those stanzas in the middle of page 43 says that if we cultivate love, love is very powerful, that it can conquer many challenges. And just as our historical teacher Shakyamuni Buddha did, right? He conquered the host of Maras by the power of love, right? They were hurling all kinds of weapons to destroy him, but Buddha did not use any weapons. He just simply embraced them with his love, and by the power of love, the Maras, they couldn't do anything to him. So that's the benefit of cultivating love for sentient beings. And also, as we said, in the Buddhist literature, we talk about different activities that could be performed, right, under different circumstances, for sentient beings. So some of the activities might include wrathful activities, right? If you don't understand the piece, hey, I'll show you the other side of that. Of course, with love, you do that. My second footnote. Or there are certain what we call Takwa is the wrathful, and one is very influential, persuasive power kind of rituals we can do. But we really don't need to resort to all those wrathful and other things. Just by cultivating love, right, we will be able to win the hearts of the sentient beings. So when they like you, now you have a chance to guide them properly, isn't it? And when you love them, they like you, they want to hang out with you, and now you have a chance to guide them in a spiritual way, right? This is how it also becomes one of the skillful means to gather sentient beings and then to guide them in a dharmic way,
책도 양 떠네 고마 송소 책네 세워담비 나데 다이니 동순직된 숨되나 인소등의 신지등의 우회등의 등의 시월쇼시 소소사 다들의 간지 샤바 이니 샤바 깨가보여디 깨가보여나 깨가보도 샤죠면 베베 이니 랍고 공구레스 어제도 공구야 되다 비지 랍디 시월 랍디 인지라와 이 세우 답에 노서 장 샤바 공주 주다라와 어떻게 장에 이니 심지타지면 이니 샤바 공구레스 타나베게 명님으로 야고 좀어서 나 책동는디 식지 다다 시보든 동시에니 이니 뒤다 진도 다디 그게 그마동에 설치니 샤바 공구레스 거
노서
식서 쇼가지 주도와
그래. So when we say that we should cultivate love, it doesn't necessarily mean it's an easy task to do that. As a matter of fact, it may not be easy to cultivate love for all sentient beings. But that doesn't mean we should be disheartened and give up, right? Okay, now that's out of my reach. No, we should do what we can to train our mind to do the meditation required. And even if it means we need to use certain stanza prayers, right, to be able to focus our mind, right, to be able to, support our mind, way of thinking. And so one of the things we can find is quoted here from a Sutra of the Golden Light. Okay? And they said that maybe we can use this kind of a line to be able to focus our mind and support it and energize it to cultivate love. And the stanza, I suppose it's a stanza, it's kind of a long sentence, reads, through the sound of the sacred golden light's great drum, may the sufferings of miserable realms, the sufferings brought on by the Lord of Death, the sufferings of poverty, and all suffering be extinguished in the three worlds of the universe of the 3 billion world system. So even if we have to use something like that, right, because otherwise we have hard to focus our mind, we should use certain prayer stanza to be able to assist our mind to cultivate love for sentient beings.
다 샤바군이야, 다 샤바군을 림바니 통만자 힐 고세다. 되는 에는 파마다 되는 자라 고마샤이. 되는 심제단지 림바셔도 고모 곰베 수치다 심제단지 동일 제 수야양산은 인제 기와다. 심지는 사지 더 사범에 대화메지 대풍고양 삼바 샤데 디콤나 대화데 텐드 농기 종라 대화나 줘봐 남이라 시네 대다다 심진 농라 다버 샤오사 대다 곰도데 먼저 인제 곰데 심지 동엘맹네 동엘 야 심지 동엘 나서 삼데 인제 겨거라 어때 나 샤마 곰데 살아 심지 그 대풍야들이야 가디 비 새로 탐지도 쓰는데 때 간집이 대화 찾는 뭐 짜는 영어 거는 대화 야가 제 영어라 제가 드네 대화 매베 등에 대화 매베 삼로양 고무기는 이 대화도 생도 정말 지그래서 보다.
And so at the end of page 43, we find it stated, the way in which we cultivate love for sentient beings is in a very kind of a structured way. First, we start to cultivate love in relation to those who are dear to us, our friends, isn't it? So once we have that, so to speak, under our belt, now we focus on those who are neither our friends nor our enemies, the neutral, we usually call strangers, right? So we cultivate love for a stranger. And then as we succeed in that, now we go with the most challenging one, try to extend that love to someone we see as our enemy. Yes, as we train our mind in relation to these three types of beings, and we are really doing well, then we will slowly incorporate more beings from the sentient beings category, isn't it? So this is how we can expand the scope of our love to include all sentient beings. And to cultivate love, our focus is on how sentient beings are deprived of real happiness, isn't it? So then it really helps us automatically think like, yes, they are truly deprived of happiness. Yeah, they have a lot of pleasures here. They have a lot of samsaric success here. But they really don't have the real happiness, So how nice it would be if they have the real happiness and the way we talked about, right? This is how, as we think along those lines, that will help us to cultivate love for sentient beings. Just as like when we focus on the problems of suffering of sentient beings, like, wow, my God, they have a lot of suffering, right? How nice if they are free of suffering. So we think along that line, then we started to feel compassion for them, isn't it? Our compassion is enhanced. So it's a matter of how we look at it, isn't it? If we focus on how sentient beings are deprived of true happiness, real happiness, then we are cultivating love. If we focus on how they have too much suffering that they don't want, and we wish them to be free of suffering, then we are cultivating compassion. Yeah.
소나 아테 대화나서는 이를 셴네 대다 심지는 답을 샤오스 그디베로 다디베 인가니 간제 소소베 게자드가 심지를 단 심지 대화한테 뭐 상황도 그저 남지 금나죠 말에 대 이라게 답이야요 말아 어디입니다 독세네 이네 가서 알레 당보 대화메 베 대화 풍부지 영어도 언디 송선은 다 대화돼야 그래서 소소베 디레 뭐가 셴 심지는 되게 대화 대해서 배고 디레 in 상동구를 했습니다.
So to train our mind, we focus on how sentient beings are deprived of real happiness, yeah? And so then we imagine providing them the real happiness, and we could use our own stock of merit, right? Virtue brings real happiness, so we dedicate our positive energy for sentient beings, and then we imagine that as a result, sentient beings do receive, right, real happiness, do experience real happiness. So this is how we train our mind, cultivating love in relation to sentient beings.
심지에도 닝지 미국가 심지에네 동행 somsena 데려와 동해 동은 저에 동에 잡아도 유송 데려와 다 동해 거기 해야지 다 저에 동에서 소화되고 잡아도 해야 되는 거서 하면 다 간주 고연은 그게 예시도 롱어메 뭐 이 고연은 그게 풍부한 보신 고연 동에라 칭아 sakji shadu ji khawa si ora kasa di chawa di ji de si ora odi dire na ju gomne nyamba de chawa shau dangi si bota mi ba shi lo de nyambo si o tu su gom gure si ora.
So now on top of page 44, cultivating compassion. Right, this is where we just like sentient beings are the focus of our love cultivating, so are they the focus of cultivating compassion. By cultivating love, we wish them to be happy, to have real happiness. By cultivating compassion, subjectively, we wish them to be free of suffering and problems, right? That's the difference here. And so when we look at sentient beings and consider their situation, we see that sentient beings either experience all the three types of suffering or at least one of them. Okay? And the three types of sufferings that we generally talk about are the suffering or the suffering of misery. Okay? That's a very manifest. We all can see it, witness it, right? Cry about it. He didn't say that, but throw that one there. And then the suffering of change. So that's more difficult for us to detect, isn't it? And all the pleasures that we are seeking, we think this is real happiness, is, as a matter of fact, a form of suffering because it changes, and then the reality strikes us. We know it. Then the third suffering is we call extensive suffering or the pervasive suffering. What this is really is that just by the fact that we are trapped in samsara, we don't have really choices right now, right, who we want to be in the future. Our rebirths are dictated by our afflictive emotions and contaminated karmic actions. So long as we continue in this kind of a situation, we have what is called pervasive suffering. Wherever we go in samsara, suffering welcomes us. It's there. Okay? So now we see that all sentient beings, deal with these three types of suffering, and so we said how nice it would be if sentient beings are free of suffering. Okay? May they be free of the suffering. May I be able to help them be free of the suffering. Bless me, O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, gurus, to be able to succeed in my sort of a mission, if you will, right? This is how we cultivate compassion, karuna for sentient beings.
Da gombe korumni toman zahira tene parmate tene dala gombe zahira dala sim nyom banjubetse remji shoji simje tanjelo gombe tetar tanyam 당 샤바디 인제 유라 소소chen 림제도 고마 되네 충업에 너의 지수 정리 너무 까말라길래 제바 이라 되네 네 현디 셰데 소소체와 소소 마셔와 당번이 찔레 메니세 장발라 껴왔다 나야 레레는 삼나 칸라 메자와 나라 티 레레니 이게 요앙을 해봤다 돈이 지수 치모도 땅대에서 타르 찔레메니 장빙는 나야 찔라 메니 장나 안 속바도 소자 칸라 메게 안 칸라 메게 난다게 셰로사 어디 다다다 이 그자 따님 군데 담몰이야 얘네 파마니 녜고 데네 파마고 안 데네 가르사 dal gom ji rimba ji wa da di ani chamba gom de ta gara ning je gom de ta gara gom ya rimba de ini ta de chö gom beng dol so ge de kamal la hi la ge ni chö gom be dol so ma de kamal la hi la ge tu gom ge song sha as je da di nye ba ni chen bo res de mo de ji bum ro ji da nye ba za ma je sin da je be ge la ta nyum ro hops ka do me ge ma je gom na tang bo ji ge yo so cha ge de ko ini jo chang de zan 심지어 소설을 명나 야고 뭐지 찔레 명나 야고 뭐지 이게 더다 리버 깨토고 말이야. 다 더고 그래래 그 쳇니 미소나 이제 조를 장서는 심지어 찔레 명나 깨그래 레레레 명나 깨그래 이거 거된 뭐야 우차 그래서 어디 지용어도 더 소야 돼 가만 라길이 시스단 something 미소와.
So we're on page 44. In terms of cultivating compassion, we follow the same, procedure, structure, just as we have been advised to do to cultivate impartiality or sense of equanimity, tangyum, right? So that is first we think of someone who really is dear to us. Yeah? So we cultivate, impartiality towards this, and then we go to the neutral. Then we go to the someone who is our enemy. And then once our mind is getting well trained, then we slowly, right, include more beings from the category of sentient beings. This is how we extend our impartiality or sense of equanimity towards all. Okay? So now the same procedure we adopt for cultivating love or cultivating compassion. Okay? Now this is very important that we start off with specific cases to cultivate impartiality, love, and compassion. Okay? If right from the beginning we think of all sentient beings, right, kind of a generic thing, right, then we may feel some sense of impartiality or something for the generic sentient being. But then the problem is when we encounter particular sentient beings, they're like, yeah, who are you, right? Then we have a problem, right? Then particular sentient beings we encounter, like there's enemy, there's a friend, then there's the stranger, like, oh, I really don't care about you, right? We got a problem. So if we train our mind in relation to specific sentient beings, just the way it has been explained, and this really comes from great Indian master Kamal Shilas, right? That once we have trained our mind well and we include more sentient beings, so at the end, when we think about all sentient beings, we really are able to extend impartiality, love, and compassion to them, or even if we meet particular sentient beings, we're able to, right, have the same attitudes towards them. Otherwise, from the beginning, if you look at the generic sentient beings, it looks like very nice and wonderful, right, kind of in a la-la land, but then we really, you didn't say that, but and then we see the particular sentient beings, then we get into problems. Then we realize we don't have any of those attitudes. Yeah? So this is very crux of the matter, and we should remember that. So it comes from Kamal Shila, which is talked about cited probably in Compendium of Knowledge. So we will stop there today, and we welcome your questions and observations, and the traveling mic is over there. Let me get this page number.
Hi, this is regarding the mandala offering that we do. So traditionally, the mandala offering is like Mount Meru and the 4 continents. Is that supposed to represent the entire universe or just our corner of the universe? Like, for example, our Western point of view, we like multiverses or whatever. And we're making, from a Western view, when we're making an offering of the universe, should we imagine we're offering just absolutely everything that's possible or just our corner of the universe?
Kurang kan di shue di dire ke nganzo tang da men de phu ro ba ke da man de nam yun dong da chi de ka la ya da ri che bu ri rap ji she ro ba an ke di kang hung go ro ba de de phu de de gi da kar so ko re da jigden gi kham yong zo ro ba ke sam lo de na le kam phu sun so ba de phu go re yan jigden be kam che da sur ji ro ba ke da ben na kon zo de ben men de phu wen nu zo ba ya kurang zo da mi nu zo be ke kam na mang bu yo ro phu sun so ba di ne rang ji ko sam lo tang go re ya men da be jigden gi kham ka ri ne ju yo ro ba ke jigden kam se da jam ling da ba ke be jigden kam jo ro ba di ga sam lo tang go ka ri na sa
de da ngo zo ji phu da shen da ling shi ling de ye da yong zo phu ro ba
la le
phu song jo ro ba
la le 제도 가는 간저 잠블링디 다제디 가서로다 디르와 가서 또 잠블링 공다로 찾아봐.
잠블링 로 잠블링 샤 샤위 지와다. 잠블링 남들 ngân da 잠블링 서 잠블링 지바 지거와.
나래.
다 샬로 뭐 저 장답이 세야 돼서 여러 뭐도 지다 때까지 무슨 가야 말아. 이 문제 피도는 링시가 피고도. 링그 누다 링시가 피도 디나다 뉴지가 피고로 와. 그 링시가 피고래. 그러다 lumba so
Geshe said that kind of a traditional based on Buddhist cosmology, we make mandala offering with the Mount Meru in the center and the 4 continents and the subcontinents, all of those. That really represents the entire universe system. That whatever is the best of things available across the universe, right? We imagine offering that, and so to that extent, we gain merit. For example, our world is thought of as the part of the Jambudvipa, the southern continent. So wherever we are, like any part of the world or country, if we can only think about all the best of things in our country or the continent, right? It's still limiting, isn't it? So in other continents also, there are many other wonderful things. So we can imagine, expand our imagination to the whole entire universe and grab everything best. I think that way we earn more merit. So that is universe symbolism. Yeah, everything, best of, Any other questions, observations?
Geshe explained about affectionate love earlier in a couple sessions ago. So what is the connection, the relationship between affectionate love and the cherishing, wishing love that we're talking about? How do they differ in terms of their subjective and objective aspects? Thank you.
근데 그런 컨디션에 디레샤다 가상에만 안zo 이용 창바 숨을 와게 다 단다될 창바 지요 와게 지당 창바 저다 이용 창바다 창바니 빠로라야 민남래야 개발하고 가려요 그래서 야와 체벤으로와 아 지금 가려요 왜 말했어
이제 다 데려와 단다 이용 샴바세야 될 지당 안에 이제 쯔부 쉬우도 세야 미세 민음 돼 있어야 요 말아 샴바세야 대화 tendu dewal mi gora sinile dewal de ati mi gora ni ge dunge si mi gora yung chaba sia di koro mashi tendu tizo to kadi shira samne shi do sembe ijuk chembu shi be gabo shi cha jo mare o dide ji yung sa ko mi se gumno lo so yo mara ba ma ge tendu tizo to den ko na ji gora ma to ko mi num jana ko ya ga yo mara ba
yung chamba in Tibetan affectionate love that we talk about it comes as we really focus well on, recognizing all sentient beings as our mother and remembering the kindness, living the kind, all of that is, out of that, we develop that kind of a closeness towards sentient beings. That's what it is. The affection and love, it does not necessarily have a particular focus, right? When we really feel so close, care about each other, it's just that we are so happy to see each other, right? Whereas this love we're talking about, is wishing others to be happy, right? The goodness, wishing them. So in that sense, it's different. So this is the love where we talk about sentient beings as the focal point, and then wishing them to be happy is the subjective experience. Whereas the affection love, it's just you care about it. You just feel close to them. Affinity, right? More affinity with sentient beings. Yeah.
In the affectionate love, there is no subjective aspect, such as, for example, the sense that they're lovable. Wouldn't that be a subjective aspect? Seeing them as lovable. No, that's the objective. Looking at sentient being is seeing them as lovable, objectively lovable.
Sana tanda di karso korda nganje yung chamba choro wage. Yala ko ani mingnam ke mix me na ta kanje ko mikpa de ta karso korda semje ko yoba sam de chadu yo mar wes ko.
Da di sure da ga pe
초딩에 주여사.
다 소소 저 줘버 왜 데모 하상게 이드 태버리면 돼. 딘데 즉서 왔다. 가지 베네다데 소소 가로 좀 섬지여나. 콘저 다 나와도 등에 찍봐여나.
그러네.
엔 소소 가세 쯔어 될 등에도 무서 쉬운 거 봐. 될 성으로. 다 시다 근데 다 닝제 삼성 뭐도 시다 좋아서 말아 봐. 뭐 뒤서로 제가 이모 셔봐서 먼저 카드 현이 이죽식도 와. 하사 집어 지가 데모 시아죠 말에. 뭐 뒤에서 쓰고.
I think the affectionate love is probably more understood in terms of the affinity you feel towards sentiment. Let's say you have 3 good friends. You care about all of them. But among them, one is particularly you care about, right? So when they are all in problem, you care about them, but the one you really feel so close to, right, that hits you more, isn't it? Because in your mind, somehow that person is, we say, more appealing to your heart, So that's just the affinity part.
So in the compendium of trainings, it says, crazed by the afflictions, blinded by ignorance, stumbling with each step on a path which many a precipice. You and others are always subject to sorrow, and all beings have familiar sufferings. And since we walk around seemingly like most people, since we are in a spiritually degenerated time, don't have the it seems like they walk around and they aren't self-aware of what's going on. And I think that you could be like loving to them, and they would just be like, well that's just a nice guy. And or they might just run all over you. And would there be just offering love, or like maybe like because some of the statues of, just like they have the angry face, right, to overcome the afflictions. Would it be wise to, try to, not in like a harmful way, but to try to make them be self-realized while showing them compassion instead of just showing them like that love?
I'm still trying to understand.
Sorry, I was trying to.
I have a sense of what you're saying. but I'm not completely sure.
Like,
So what do you mean? Okay, say among the sentient beings, or let's say we all need to care about them, but then you said something about angry face of the troublemakers.
yeah.
So
Like, for the self-realization, would there be like some part that you would need to like be forceful to?
oh, I see. Deal with them. So
Ye-
is
yeah,
that
like not even to deal with them, just like to try and show them like that,
even kind of a
like,
tough love?
they affect other people and like that their actions and what they're doing to themselves and that they do have
Oh,
afflictions
Okay.
other than just being like I love you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I'm good. Okay. 그러나 근데 셔도 디스고도 다 단다 달라고 군도기 롱 타마 시선 전에다 심제 강가로다 말이 동대 여러 바게. 한 요모기다 배 투치네 아니 베게 양사다 녀송 양사 롱대 대 여러 바게. 근데 삼제다 당한 조단다 가서로다디 참다니 게 숨벌 와게. 다 지도 관한 디스고 다 계시 다 관한 삼 디삼고에서 와 가지고 참바 범스들 관 미 상말로로 야다 지게 제 삼로 야가를 전에 와게. 다 이거는 가보를 제 디주고 삼고에서 와. 다 이내 뭐요 내줄을 야다 샘제나를 모르는 분들 여러 와게. 야말랑에 보는 와게. 콘트 중에 보는데. 제 근데 예외나 다 참바를 시komen 때 그거를 양 콘솔을 야 직시해져 와. 닝드나 다 kana chedan데 디기와마다 교래 삼로 당다는 노브를 서와게. 근데를 이렇게 제고거래 야마 참바를 그 이제 기부시나 삼제 대신 주고 쓴 거서 와게.
알레 다 다다 코르세야 데르와다 소소 롭소 자야 저서요
나로.
다디요 저 따기로 다 롭소 자는 거 팬 토자에서는 거 매직니 롭소 자나 팬 팬그라
나래.
다다 참바 공다데 때 말어 심지 강갈미야 참바데 미 저바 따가지게 말어
몰라래.
어디 다디 참바데 공다 가르서는 대거 다다 다다 그거 공하고 쇼차고라
몰라래.
다디 사가디 키진다 다임세야디 코하고 비게 근데 다니에다 강가 네바 먹어 어디 키지 도사서 어 뒤에 강가 딕 마키오네 그게 뇽토야 비지 주대여라고 어디 지셔 그래서 뭐가 있어야 말봐 우리 배 남는 누가 간지 네마 펜다요 다리부터 찍바로 도사 찍으러
몰라래.
세다 뒤지디 다리 녀들 집이 샤고야 다리 다리 당고야 몇 말아
몰라래.
삼로다나 용토 라와
노셔.
다 코로세야 지당은 점주 랍자르지레 메도글이야 에너지 랍자르시는 지시야 줘라
몰라래.
대야 땅이 땅이지요 가이지 랍자시네야 뒤쪽 더더고 코로사그라
몰라래.
다 랍자자는 거 누구이네 페도사르는 랍자 미끼기나 야 지금 쉬어봐서 찍는 거 더나 배우야 뭐라 점주 랍자는 누구 다
몰라래. 노셔. 몰라래. So this is what Geshe said, that here, of course, right now, we is really focused on training our mind to cultivate, right, this kind of love, wishing all beings to be happy. But we try to do it in a very structured, right, procedural way. And but I think as we train our mind, whether or not we should do something or share some wisdom or guide them, whatever, that depends upon circumstances and whether the other person is willing, right, to listen to you or not. Okay? And sometimes opening our mouth is even going to make it more problem, right? And they're like, okay, what the hell are you trying to teach me? Let me teach you two things, right? Somebody will come back to you. So we have to judge. If somebody is willing, of course, as part of our refuge practice, something we said, even if it means being able to help somebody think positively, if somebody is willing, we're able to do that, we should do that. Right? But that depends upon the circumstances and the willingness of the other people, right? But at least what we can do from our side is really try to cultivate that love, right, for sentient beings. And of course, it's difficult, like especially, wishing happiness for the enemies, right? This is why we have to go back to the first point, cultivating impartiality or the sense of equanimity, right? This is where we said, if you honestly think deeply, our relationship with sentient beings have never been fixed. They have been changing, right? Best friends become best, worst enemies become the best friends, and all of those things happen, right? So when we think of those lines, now it becomes very possible, isn't it? Somebody is so dear to me in this life, but why should I be so attached to this person? Because this could have been my worst enemy before and killed me like anything, right? Somebody is giving me a lot of trouble this life, but this is just this life. In the past life, this person must have been the best friend or the dearest to me. So why should I hate him or her like anything? So when we think about all this uncertainty of relationship changes in the whole samsara, then it really makes sense that everybody should be treated equally and there. Right? But that requires a lot of mind training and discipline, isn't it? It's kind of a, unless we feel that way, it's very hard to extend the love and compassion to everybody, especially the troublemakers and the enemies, So that's the thing. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts? Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
On page 42, the verse says, always offering to superior beings as many countless offerings as there are in billions of lands does not equal a portion of the benefit of a loving attitude, which makes me wonder, why do we make offerings to the beings, and would it not be better to spend more time cultivating a loving attitude than making so many offerings over and over again?
Sure.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes sense to me. So which is a good thing. When the translator understands what he's saying there, I think it's a good thing, right? Maybe we both are not making sense. I don't know. We'll see. Dirisha, kunangandi shue dita dagi ken tingizi gebe do tang barwa ken. Ane karsola ta jiden kam chawa thakdi liya ane cheba nama dini rawa ken. Keshol phyeba le ane chamba yuish kamban di shuj pento chikir sum barwa ken. Sa dinde samla ta inde kala ane shuma tu dinde ko do sumone dinde yimbe ina ane nganzo 되게 망고 싶지 쳐밥이야다 지금 제저와 이게 대게 되버랑원에 지금 알레 장바 komision으로 와게 얘기로 와디 맞으잖아 간저 쳐밥이야다 쳐밥 싸야다 망고 지고로 와게 근데 간에 있나서 거다
예 지당다 장바고 지당이 간저 샘도 시와다 락베샤데 샘도 시와다 배용도 시와요 봐 이제나다 장바 지고 거는 한 배경 말이야 봐 야 소소 되게 갈 룽주고 더는 동고 하다 부르 마시나 그 사지와도 소 휴사고 라 딱 잠변 디그래서 지지라 딱 근데 근데 소지신 남지 지지라 좀 자. 지지라 거라 시시는 디사를 선선데 좀 말해. 뭐 디지고 디는 디와라. 저 되다 이래. 다 샤바 숙셔 먹으면 다 약해도 되레스. 그래와 이나다 누가게 비게 양지 저도 롱주로요나 팬도가다 가르데 강가 호로 부르도 쳐고라. 그래와
다 테스트 가서 그냥 파종어디 레라에서 검으로 되면 처벌배에 레라 그러다. 라. 처벌배에 되지도 거지 잘라도 피고 이러다 잠바 검에 카가서 지금 이렇게.
지디 카그래. 뭐데 진데 카그라.
나로와.
잠바도 배 카고라.
나오.
나 저가 근데 지마타야 되는데 뭐뭐 라그네 다 도어라.
나로.
나 잠바 타다 가도 잠바데 다가도 지금 잠바 가보니 잠바데 말아. 잠바 스위단 잠바데와. 저도 네 가고 싶잖아라. 띵원이 골도는데 다 제다들이 다. 다 근데 가고래 또유도 베셔라 그런 주 감가 성직심. 저다 감가 그런 주로 시에 문제. 그 뒤에 그런 찍어도 쓰고 뭐 뒤에 감시는 그런 니반도 동아요. 리시고.
Geshe said that of course if we do sincerely focus on cultivating love, right? That's our real focus should be. But at the same time, that said, we also need to do other practices, offering or prostration, whatever, because in order to be enlightened, right, we need to do these other practices as well. Otherwise, it's like, when we talk about like any of these topics, right, and we talk about how important, beneficial it is, like that, emptiness looks like that's the only thing I need, right? I don't need anything else, right? Then we go bodhicitta, okay, that's all I need, right? Or somebody will say, we say rejoicing practice. It's just, you said that's the simplest act, but yet tremendously meritorious, right? It's almost like we don't need to do anything, just rejoice in everybody's, right? But then that itself is not enough, right, as a cause for us to reach our destination. So I think, yes, in terms of priority, yes, love cultivating should be really the one. That's, and especially the kind of love we talk about is not just regular love, right? It's very difficult. But at the same time, we need to do the other things, But in terms of, let's say, action, sometimes maybe we find that easy to do, like, whether people have any sense of dharma or not, there are people who are generous. They just like to give money. That seems to be easier rather than that. But really cultivating love or the generosity for everybody, that is the challenge, right? So therefore, you have made a good point, but that should be our priority, but we need to do the other things as well.
어때 남기 되시고라 그래서 다도 사진 도안에시나 아니 계속은 잡아도 라이는 짐바동에 돈달에 제주 마시 송여라 소소다 소송게 땡기는 수 야보 있는데 봐 지마땅 서로
나네.
팀도 지마땅 존다리야 째야 잔째 지마땅 용 봐. 송여라.
노소.
다 정서부터 다고 넘기는 지금 서서 캠스야 보고 가신 지금 배조 요요 가라 봐.
나네.
디거 다 지마땅한테 정서를 쏘는 샤라 봐.
나네.
다 3대 정지도 자발 샤가도 봐.
나네.
세다 톱으로도 삼루도 샤야 디와 톱도 샤야.
나네. So in terms of really generating merit or the positive energy, right? Really training our mind, cultivating those positive attitude is very, very powerful. I mean, we cannot compare those things to our external actions or practice, things. But then in a very relative sense, for example, Buddha said in a Vinaya monastic rules that for the monks, somehow Buddha said you should really focus on keeping your vows intact, right? Even Buddha sometimes might say like, well, you don't have to go out and practice the generosity. Don't break your vows and in search of the money and the material so that you thought I can be very generous. Is that no, you don't need to. You just stay focused on your celibacy and samadhi practice, whatever, right? But then for the lay practitioners, Buddha said, no, generosity is very important because Buddha know in order to raise your family, you have to work hard and you will be earning some livelihood. So you have part of that. So you have something you could share with others. So Buddha will emphasize generosity for the lay practitioners and not for the monastics. So all those things, right, are there. And the France la junior chimbu shung do again. France la kazan the structure bag me mangu shibu said one. They told me just not wrong. Me be gal has mangu me jun shi. No. Some from Geshe. I mean, this so terrorist attack in France, and that took many lives and many were hurt, and so we are going to think about those who have lost their lives, who are still hurt, and all the family members, and to do some prayers for them. Okay. Shaodong Golo Jebe Jebodong, Jendong Keba Sambe, Sanje Tong, Kala Pandu, Dela, Dedemba, Chomba Chere Sela, Chanze, Omani Peme, Omani Peme, Omani Peme, Omani Peme, Omani Peme, Omani Peme, Omani Peme. Omani Beme Hore, Gawandi, Yoda, Chere Sewan, Rubjone, Doa, Chija, Maleva, Deyes, Gambara, Jo, Kange, Lode, Timye, Dinda, Ninda, Namda, Rasa, Chinye, Dungo, Shishin, Seje, Nije, Tuwa, Kanda, Zebe, Zara, Mare, Mendon, Dunge, Geshe, Rozo, Gula, Buje, Taze, Yela. Jedo Nyemo Nyelo, Leje, Charo, Jose, Mare, Mese, Dunge, Yogo, Chinye, Jose, Rade, Jene, Daje, Saje, Daze, Yende, Lunzo, Yase, Tuyo, Juda, Jambe, Yala, De, Omara Bazana, Omaramba na ne zende cheje kera vese ye dalu temo memba rapse ne kada tenje shonglo do lode bo na wan zendo zo lode jazu udun bega je kesan pongwe chudo memba shin tenba zela wando chogun jala zo wan de page 21. Obeisance to my Guru and protector Manjushri, who holds at his heart a scriptural text, symbolic of his seeing all things as they are, whose intelligence shines forth as the sun, unclouded by delusions or traces of ignorance, who teaches in 60 ways with the loving compassion of Father for his only Son, all creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering. You whose dragon thunder-like proclamation of Dharma arouses us from the stupor of our delusions and free us from the iron chains of our karma, who wields this sword of wisdom, heaving down suffering wherever sprouts appear, clearing away the darkness of ignorance. You who have been pure from the beginning, who have completed the stages achieving the highest perfection of a bodhisattva, whose princely body is adorned with 112 marks of a Buddha, I bow down to you, Manjushri, Om Arabhaja Nadi. O compassionate one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind, enlighten my intelligence and wisdom so that I may gain insight into Buddha's words and the texts that explain them. Page 31. Like the sweet perfume of white lotus, born in the ocean of knowledge, nourishing honeybees, the fortunate beings, your fame pervades all directions. You are proficient and powerful in upholding the precious doctrine. To you, O Lord Sang Tenzin Wangta, respectfully I pray.
Nhất tâm kính lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, bậc đại trí Ngài đều phục hai chướng ngại, tựa nhật quan lan tỏa khắp mười phương, bậc thực chứng chân nghĩa màu rốt ráo, từ tim Ngài Bát Nhã Kinh thủ hộ nhiệm màu, cõi luân hồi chúng sanh thọ nghiệp báu, bị ngăn che bởi phiền não vô minh, sở hữu 60 pháp âm thù thắng, cùng đại bi Ngài hóa độ chúng sanh, tựa từ mẫu chăm lo cho quý tử. Tiếng rồng vang Ngài thức tỉnh hữu tình, thoát khỏi vòng luân hồi nghiệp chướng, gồm trí tuệ Ngài chặt đứt vô minh, tận diệt muôn vàn khổ đau cùng ách nạn. Ngài an trụ nơi thập địa pháp vân, báu thân Ngài trang nghiêm thanh tịnh, 112 tướng hảo Như Lai, đây đầu đảnh lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, cúi xin Ngài tận diệt ám chướng vô minh. Om Arapasanadi, con khẩn cầu dưới gót sen bậc đại trí, bàn pháp lực diệt phiền não vô minh, được trí sáng con thâm nhập nghĩa màu, pháp vi diệu cùng muôn vàn luận giải. Như diệu hương ngọt ngào từ sen trắng, hàng thiện căn như ong mật thọ nương, hồng danh Ngài khắp mười phương quảng bá, đấng thiện xảo uy dũng bảo tồn pháp bảo vô giá. Nam mô Lốp Sang Tenzin Wangchuk, xin cung kính trì niệm.
Okay, so you must know that young at home to store, but come on, can't remember. Any, the new name is level way. Sugar, cut it. 네, 제가 시디 시외 님들 건다 건서 사발랭을 추적하지 쇼로 된체가로. Couple of announcements. Number one, again, I'm sorry, I need to go to a convention, so that's my samsaric duty. So next Sunday there is no teaching here, and then as we have announced before, on Lama Tsongkhapa Day, December 5th, that's the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we will have Chenre Sikh Avalokiteshvara fasting retreat, right? Nyungne in Tibetan. So many of you have done that. You know it's a 2-day practice, and so on the Saturday it'll start at 5:30 So it'll start at 5:30, means we get here about 5, right? And then there are those probably new people who have not done, and probably you know what is even Nyungne. It's a Tibetan word, fasting retreat, what does it involve? And so December 4th, Friday evening, Geshe will give a little explanation about that, right? And if you're interested to participate in the Nyungne, so you should come on Friday evening, 7:30, and I'll drive here to translate and and then the Nyungne vows will be given that Friday evening. those who would like to take that. And so Friday evening is a preparation for the Nyungne, and those who want to participate, never receive the vows, Geshe will give that, so 7:30. Okay, December 4th, Friday, 7:30, Nyungne preparation vows. And then I think you will get all of those emailed through Yahoo list, right, about the Nyungne practice, okay? Chanjo senjo rinpo che ma je pa na je jo je je wa nyam ba me gong dong be wa jo dong ni da wa rinpo che ma je pa na je jo nyam ba me wa yang gong ne gong pe wa ai jo Guru Rana Mandela Niyan